You are fiercely committed to a person who consistently violates your boundaries, yet leaving them feels like the ultimate moral betrayal. Why do you feel such devotion to someone who causes you pain? This is the dark psychological paradox of loyalty conditioning, a strategic hijacking of your highest ethical drives. You know, these words you see on the screen, they're more than just a hook, they're really a diagnosis. They describe a kind of psychological prison where the bars aren't made of steel, but they're forged from your own best qualities, your integrity, your commitment, your sense of duty. This entire explainer, it's dedicated to understanding exactly how this prison is built brick by brick, and way more importantly, how you can find the key to unlock it. The paradox it describes is the very engine of the abuse we're about to dissect. So this is the central question we're really going to unpack. It gets right to the very heart of why good, conscientious people stay in situations that are profoundly damaging. And listen, this isn't about weakness or a lack of self-worth. It's about a sophisticated manipulation of your deepest sense of right and wrong. So how can a fundamental act of self-preservation, I mean literally saving yourself, be twisted to feel like some profound ethical failure? Well, let's find out. Okay, to get to the bottom of this, we've broken this explainer down into 6 parts. We're going to start with the paradox itself. Then we'll define the blueprint for this specific type of manipulation. We'll break down the exact mechanism at play, explore what's happening inside your mind under this incredible pressure, and then we'll equip you with some real, concrete strategies for self-defense. And we'll end with the ultimate goal, choosing loyalty to yourself. All right, let's start with section 1, the paradox of loyalty. This is really the core emotional and cognitive conflict that makes this whole experience so bewildering. You pride yourself on being a committed, reliable, and honorable person, right? It's a huge part of your identity. But in this dynamic, that very commitment has become the direct source of your suffering. It feels like a trap with no logical way out, because the exit door is basically marked betrayal. Let's be perfectly clear about something right up front. Your loyalty is not the flaw here. It's a virtue. The human capacity for deep commitment, for duty, for seeing things through, that is a strength. The deep tragedy of loyalty conditioning is that this exact strength becomes the primary target. It's an insidious system designed to pinpoint your best, most noble quality and then meticulously turn it into a lever for control. So let's move on to section 2 and see how this weaponization actually works. We're going to put a name to the strategy and lay out its blueprint. This is all about understanding the what and the why of the manipulator's game plan. It's called ethical coercion for a very specific reason. It's not pressure on your body or your finances, it's pressure applied directly to your conscience. So what is loyalty conditioning exactly? Well, as the definition says, it's a specific manipulation tactic that actively exploits your internal moral compass. It targets your personal sense of duty, your deep-seated need to honor your commitments, and your own self-image as a person of integrity. It weaponizes all of these things to enforce your allegiance to someone, even when their behavior becomes consistently destructive. It masterfully bypasses all logic and reason by appealing directly to the part of you that just wants to be a good, honorable person. And why do they do this? Well, the manipulator's main objective is something we can call low-friction compliance. I mean, think about it from their perspective. They don't want to fight you every single step of the way. That's just exhausting. The ultimate, most efficient form of control is when the target starts to enforce the rules on themselves. So by hijacking your moral code, the manipulator cleverly outsources the job of enforcement to you. Your own conscience ends up doing all the heavy lifting, making their control almost effortless. This process is incredibly systematic. It's not random at all. It unfolds in 3 strategic steps. First, there's the initial oath. This happens early on, usually during that honeymoon phase, where an intense, unconditional commitment is made. It's phrased in these absolute terms, ride or die, us against the world, I'm yours forever, no matter what. Second comes framing betrayal. The moment that oath is set, any attempt you make to set a boundary or assert a personal need is immediately framed as you being the one who's breaking that sacred promise. And third, the sunk cost. The manipulator constantly leverages everything you've already invested, the time, the energy, the emotions, to make you feel like leaving would be a catastrophic waste of it all. And this brings us right to the core of our explainer, section 3, the hijacking mechanism. Now that we understand the blueprint, let's look at the engine that actually makes it run. This is the psychological machinery, how the trap is so carefully set, often with your own cooperation, and then sprung the moment you try to reclaim your autonomy, locking you right back into compliance. It all happens in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 is oath establishment. The relationship often starts with this intense idealization. You feel completely seen, totally understood, special. And during this emotional high, a sacred contract gets formed. This triggers a powerful psychological principle called consistency bias. That's our deep-seated, almost instinctual need to act in ways that are consistent with our past decisions. Then comes phase 2, the consistency hijack. The moment you push back or set a boundary, that initial oath is immediately weaponized and thrown right back in your face. Your own honorable drive to be a consistent person is now the tool used to control you. And this inevitably leads to phase 3, self-coercion. You become so afraid of being seen by them and even by yourself as disloyal or immoral that you force yourself to stay. Your own conscience becomes the jailer. This really reveals the core trade-off, doesn't it? The loyalty isn't being maintained out of love or even hope for a better future. It's being maintained purely to avoid the crushing internal psychological pain, a feeling like you are a bad person, a promise breaker, a failure. In this completely twisted mental equation, the known pain of the abuse becomes, astonishingly, more tolerable than the anticipated pain of this perceived moral failure. You end up choosing the lesser of two psychological pains. So, what is actually happening inside your head during all of this? In Section 4, we're going to look at the psychology of a hijacked conscience. This is the internal battle, that storm of conflicting thoughts and feelings that creates so much confusion, self-doubt, and ultimately paralysis. So look, here you can see the conflict in really stark terms. On one side, you have the manipulator's goals, which are purely self-serving, guaranteed compliance, effortless retention, and an unquestioned source of what's often called supply. Their needs are pretty simple and frankly parasitic. But now, look at the target's vulnerabilities on the other side. They aren't weaknesses in the typical sense, they are virtues. The deep desire to avoid ethical failure, the need to preserve a moral self-image, and that powerful internal drive for consistency. The manipulator's goals are literally designed to prey on and exploit the target's virtues. This fundamental mismatch is the engine that drives the abuse. This deep conflict creates a state of intense mental stress called cognitive dissonance. Your brain is struggling to hold two completely contradictory ideas at the same time. Belief number 1 is, I am a good, loyal, honorable person. Belief number 2, this person I'm loyal to is causing me significant pain and harm. That psychological tension is just unbearable. To resolve it, you have to change one of the beliefs. And because the belief I am a loyal person is so central to your core identity, it feels easier, psychologically, to change the other one. So you start to rationalize, to minimize, or to just accept the harm, all in order to preserve your self-image as someone of high integrity. You choose the abuse over a shattered self-concept. Now, understanding the mechanics of the trap is one thing. Disarming it and escaping it is another thing entirely. So, in Section 5, we're going to pivot from diagnosis to action. This is all about reclaiming your moral compass from your captor and learning the specific strategies you need to defend yourself against this insidious form of psychological warfare. You can absolutely fight this conditioning with a conscious, deliberate plan. It involves 3 critical steps. First, the oath re-audit, which is where you take back executive control of the contract. Second, asserting the ethical break, where you actively reframe the entire moral landscape in your favor. And third, the sunk cost neutralization, where you learn to turn the manipulator's favorite psychological weapon right back against them. Let's start with the oath re-audit. This is your counterstatement, the new clause in your personal contract. You have to consciously and repeatedly redefine the terms of your commitment. The mantra to internalize and repeat to yourself is this: my loyalty is conditional on mutual respect and safety. This is an absolute game changer. Why? Because it aligns your powerful subconscious consistency bias with your own well-being. Now, to be a consistent person, you must enforce your boundaries of respect and safety. You're giving your brain a new, healthier prime directive. Next up is the ethical break. You have to actively and aggressively disrupt the abuser's framing of reality. And the mantra that does this is, leaving a destructive situation is an act of integrity, not betrayal. Say it until you believe it. This single sentence reframes the entire act of leaving. It's no longer a moral failure, it is the ultimate act of moral courage. It powerfully asserts a higher, more important ethical order, the non-negotiable duty you have to protect yourself. And finally, we neutralize the sunk cost fallacy. When your mind inevitably says, "But I've already put in so much time, so much effort," you have to be ready to counter it with this mantra: I will not compound my past loss with my future. This single thought shifts the entire perspective. The past sacrifices are no longer a reason to stay and suffer more. They become the very reason you must leave, to prevent any further loss. You transform the anchor that's holding you down into the launching pad for your escape. And that brings us to our final section: choosing loyalty to self. We've taken this entire mechanism apart, piece by piece, screw by screw. Now, let's put it all back together for the ultimate takeaway, the single most important lesson to internalize from this entire explainer. If you remember nothing else from our time together today, remember this: that profound, confusing feeling, it has a name. It's called loyalty conditioning. It is the specific strategy that explains why you can feel such intense loyalty to someone who consistently treats you terribly. It is not a flaw in their character. It is the intended, engineered outcome of a very deliberate manipulation. The pattern is deceptively simple, and now you can see it clearly. It always starts with an oath establishment, that sacred, absolute promise made in a moment of idealization. That initial oath then becomes the tool used to hijack your deep, internal, and otherwise virtuous need for moral consistency. And that hijacked consistency forces a state of moral coercion. You begin policing yourself, staying in line, not out of love, not out of hope, but out of a deep-seated, gut-wrenching fear of experiencing yourself as a moral failure, as someone who broke their most sacred word. But here is the critical point of hope. Just being aware of this mechanism is the beginning of its end. The simple, powerful, conscious act of the oath re-audit, of deliberately redefining your loyalty to be conditional upon respect and safety, is what breaks that internal lock-in. It gives your conscience a new, healthier, and self-protective directive to follow. So in the end, that devotion you feel, it's not a flaw. It's just been the currency funding this whole abusive cycle. You break the conditioning the moment you make a different choice with that currency. The moment you choose to direct that powerful, virtuous, and beautiful loyalty back where it has always belonged, to your own safety, your own integrity, and your own future. Choose loyalty to yourself.